You're listening to the EduTech Guys, edutechguys.com. Hello and welcome to EduTech Guys. I'm David Henderson.
Hey, I'm Jeff Madlock.
Yeah, hey, welcome to the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, downloading, grabbing the show, listening, basically, what it all amounts to.
Thanks a million. And don't forget, you can always grab a hold of your mouse and go out to the internet and follow us at www.edutechguys.com. Or heck, just go to Google, type in EduTech Guys, and you'll come up with other podcasts. No, you'll actually come up with our podcasts. They'll go, why do you want to listen to these guys? Well, I'm going to tell you why you want to listen to these guys. You want to go to our social media, and we have some really cool graphics and pretty pictures of us, and sometimes kittens.
We are eye candy for the radio.
We are eye candy for the radio. But, hey, if you want to let us know what you think of us, what you think of the show, anything else, just drop us a direct message or tweet to us or Snapchat us or whatever. Are we on Snapchat? No, we're not on Snapchat, really.
I'm not on. Well, I have it.
But I just use it to make goofy pictures every once in a while, just so I can look kind of
exactly. I don't actually send them anywhere.
Yeah. Here I am with the Burt Reynolds mustache kind of thing, you know. Just that makes me look. That makes me more believable in the education circles.
Your Burt Reynolds mustache?
Would you, if Burt Reynolds was your principal, wouldn't you do what he told you to do?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's the bandit, man.
It is the bandit.
It's the bandit. Hey, we think we have a great show for you today. We hope you enjoy it. Got some stuff coming up, and I think you'll have a good time listening. And it's real interesting. It's summertime, and we know you're out there doing that PD and heading to your conferences and stuff. So take a listen to some of our conference episodes. We like to talk a lot about what you can get out of a conference and what you should try to get out of a conference, and how to make them a little more fun and exciting for you. Reach out to us. We'll tell you what we think about it.
Exactly.
But I tell you what, we're going to drop into an interview, and we'll be back right after this.
The following conversation was recorded at the Arkansas Schools Without Walls Conference in 2019 during a podcast training workshop being put on by the EduTech Guys. In this interview, the tables are turned as David is the one in the hot seat for a change. Enjoy this look from the other side.
Welcome to today's show. My name is Christy Bobo. I've got a very special guest with us today. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is David Henderson. I'm the technology coordinator here at Southwest Arkansas Education Co-op. So I help schools, I help the school technology coordinators when they have trouble with their computers or networks, that kind of stuff. But then I also teach workshops, and I wear a lot of hats, really.
Thinking about, as far as classroom management goes, whenever you do in-services, do you notice that teachers are really hard to handle sometimes?
That is a great question. Yes, sometimes. So what's interesting to me is how many times I have teachers in my workshops that do things that I know if their kids did in their class, they would be, up the wall.
Yes.
And there have been times where I don't want to say I've called them out, but we've talked about that. Said, hey, things are getting a little unruly, or, hey, if the students in your class were kind of acting the way you guys are acting, how would you guys be handling that, right? And I don't have that classroom experience. I do understand some of the concepts and stuff just because I've been doing this so long. It's got to rub off, or at least you hope. So there's definitely been times where teachers can get a little unruly, but usually, you can rein them back in and get them back on track.
Why did you get into podcasting?
Oh man, that's a great question. Back in, I've always said I've had an old soul in a weird sort of ways. I always thought I was born like 50 years too late, because I always loved, especially old time radio. I loved old school radio. So fast forward, I did a little bit of audio work in high school, but then when I got to college, I went to Henderson State, and they had a radio program there. In fact, that's what I ended up majoring in. And I loved being on the radio. I loved all the radio stuff. Well, after I graduated, went on with life and all that kind of stuff, that all just kind of fell, to the wayside. Other stuff coming up. And so I have a podcast, and EduTechGuys, and my co-host and I were at lunch one day, and before the podcast started, we just decided, hey, we got to talking. We were both in radio. Like, you know what? Let's see if we can start up a podcast. Let's see what that even would take, because we had no idea what that even entailed. And that was about 4 years ago, and we just basically been doing it ever since. And it's been a lot of fun. We get to talk to a lot of people. We get to meet a lot of people. It's a lot of fun.
What is your most memorable podcast experience?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. Memorable.
Maybe most memorable guest that you had on the show?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It would probably be centered around a guest, and I hope this doesn't offend any other guest I've ever had ever. But it's definitely got to be, I would say the first time we interviewed the governor of Arkansas.
Wow.
And it's not just that we interviewed the governor of Arkansas, it's that it was his first round of doing his computer science program where he goes out to the different schools.
Yes.
And so he came down to Spring Hill Schools, which is right down the road from here. So we contacted his office, and there was all kinds of paperwork and legal stuff. When you have the governor on, they want to know, are you legit? Are you going to try to, corner him? Are you going to try to trick him? Which we weren't, doing any of that. But so we get the interview scheduled, and it's going to be at Spring Hill School, and the only place they can put us is in the PE coach's office off of the gym. Now, I don't know how long it's been since you've been in a PE coach's office. Yeah, so we got these tiny little wooden desks, and as you can imagine, the most aromatic environment that you can imagine for a PE center. And we got these rickety old chairs, and there's the governor all dressed out in his suit, and we're sitting across this rickety table, and we just sat down and did it. So to me, that's probably the most memorable, not just because of the guests, but because it turned out the environment that we did it in.
Memorable,
Yes.
as you said. Well, as I look at the different technology and stuff, just the leaps and bounds that we've made with technology, how do you keep up? How do you keep up with staying on top of everything?
Yeah, I would tell you, I'll be the first to admit I don't stay on top of everything. I don't see how anybody does, and I'm sure there are people who that's their specialty or whatever. But I can't stay on top of everything. So what I try to do is stay on top of the couple of things that it seems to be people are the most interested in. As of late, podcasting is a big one that's come across the classrooms, whether it's administrators doing it, classroom teachers doing it, students doing it. Podcasting's really found this second wind. Another one of the things that I'm really, really interested in is virtual and augmented reality, so VR and AR in the classroom, where students can use their tablets or their phones, and they're looking at the desk that they're sitting at in the classroom, and yet on their screen is whatever the Battle of Gettysburg, or there's some other kind of thing happening. They're dissecting a frog that's not really there. I mean, it's amazing to me the things that the places technology is taking us. Now, by the same token, I do try to stay up with certain things. So there are various websites that I check into, a lot of stuff on social media. So a lot of different tech folks that I follow on Twitter, Facebook, some Instagram, but mostly it's Twitter and Facebook. And so I get my information by following those who are following those trends.
Well, as a wrap up, just let our listeners know how they can find your podcast.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's a great idea. So you can find us at EduTechGuys. You just go online, go into your favorite search engine, type in EduTechGuys. That's EduTechGuys, and that's us. You'll see me and Jeff, our ugly mugs all over the place.
All right, thanks for listening today. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks.
As I mentioned, this was recorded during a podcast workshop. So we've got some more samples of the participants interviewing each other and getting their feet wet in the world of podcasting. Let's take a listen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Lightning Light Up podcast for your educational and entertainment purposes. Today with me, I have a very special guest. I have Allison Cox that's with me today. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. How are you, Travis?
Absolutely wonderful. Give us a little background about you, your teaching, how long you've been teaching, and where you teach.
Okay, well, currently I teach at Nevada Elementary. I went from my first year there, I taught 6th grade, and now I'm getting to move back down to kindergarten. I taught 3 years in 1st grade at Clinton Primary in Hope, starting out. So this will be my 5th year teaching, 5th year head classroom teacher. what have you.
It's going to be quite a challenge going from sixth grade to kindergarten. How do you prepare for something like that?
Well, I'm actually really excited about it because first grade was all that I knew before that. So really the sixth grade was the challenge because I had no idea. I still don't really know. I just kind of, a lot of times in teaching, they just kind of say, will you do it? And you're like, yep, I can do it, whatever you want me to do.
I got you. That's what we do as teachers. We have a society that thinks that teachers either are underpaid or overpaid. We don't do it for the money, but tell me, do you believe our salary is equitable, or is there something that we could do to improve our salary situation?
I think at times, like you pointed out before, like there's really no way that we can really put a number on our teaching. And unfortunately, we say we work 8 to 3 and only 5 days a week, but everyone knows that that's just not how teaching works. So I will say, we don't work like a normal 9 to 5 as far as like a time card, and I would never expect for us to always be compensated like that. However, I do know that it also kind of is disheartening, though, when you know that people at entry-level positions at, regular 9 to 5 careers, they're making as much, if not more, than myself with a 4-year degree. So, unfortunately, there's just never going to probably be a good number there. But I think as long as, the thing is, we shouldn't have to be working paycheck to paycheck. And I feel like, unfortunately, most teachers are. So.
Right. All right. We talked about professional development, the importance of professional development. Why this professional development? And what exactly do you expect to get out of this professional development?
This one in particular really interested me because podcasts are becoming a really big trend right now. They obviously have been around forever, but, you're just now really seeing them kind of blow up overnight. And this is going to be a great way, hopefully, for me to not only incorporate more technology in the classroom, which is one of the goals that I've made for myself, which, teachers know our PGPs or our professional growth plan. That's one of the things that I have on mine is to use more technology. So therefore, hopefully, this will increase knocking out that as well as my parent communication, which is something we can always, look forward to increasing.
In my first interview, I have a very special guest. Would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Eleanor Makia.
Makia. Miss Makia, where do you teach?
I teach at Lafayette High School. I teach family and consumer sciences.
Oh, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to go into this podcasting class?
Because it sounded interesting and I wanted to really kind of know what it was all about. And I think that after being here, I would love to use this within my classrooms and for personal use.
Teaching podcasts could be difficult. What are your management strategies for teaching podcasting in a consumer class?
Well, I would take them to the computer lab, and then I would tell them that we're going to do some recording in about some of the subject matter, and they cannot post it anywhere else.
Very interesting. I feel the same way. How do you anticipate using podcasts in your classroom with your students?
Well, I could use it to have them to explain how to construct a garment step by step, and then they can review the information that they've recorded. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we have with us Jerry, and Jerry is going to give us some information about himself to start off with, and I am so proud to have this interesting guest with us. Mr. Jerry, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I teach at Genoa Central High School in Arkansas. I'm a Spanish teacher.
All right, I'm sure that the students are really enjoying the Spanish. Why did you decide to go into teaching Spanish?
I wanted to be a teacher, and in order to teach, you have to be able to get a job. And if you teach Spanish, you will always be able to get a job.
Oh, well, it sounds interesting and wonderful. What are your expectations for your students in podcasting?
Well, we're always trying to find new ways, and technology is the big new thing. And so podcasting is technology, and I want to stay up to date in my skills.
Right. How do you plan to manage your classroom when implementing podcasting with your students?
Well, of course, it's going to be very difficult because with podcasting, the students are going to have a lot of independence. So you have to just let them know what your expectations are. And when it's time for people to quieten down, you need to have a method of a signal that they'll understand that it's time now to straighten back up and fly away.
Okay, that sounds so great within your classroom. And my final question would be, are you going to stipulate the topics for the podcasting, or the students will be given free rein to choose topics for themselves?
I would probably tightly control what is being done in the classroom. I have found that if you give them too much freedom, it can end up being a problem.
Hello and welcome to EduTechGuys. I'm David Henderson and I am here today with a very special guest. I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us who you are, who you're with, all that kind of good stuff.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christy Bobo, and I am currently a 5th, 6th grade social studies teacher at Lafayette County Elementary School.
What are some of the technologies that you use with your students in the social studies class?
I am a Google advocate.
Oh, yeah.
Google Classroom and I was very reluctant to try it at first. My school, when I was at Redwater, had began using a program called Hapara. And with Hapara, it's very similar to Google. It's where you could push out and share documents with your students and work on it. And I think from the computer, you could look to see what they were doing. And I had a coworker that says, "You've got to try Google Classroom." I'm like, "Oh, no, it's not anything better than Hapara." Of course, I started with Google Classroom, and it was amazing. I like things to be organized. Google creates your own folders for you that stores all of your stuff. You can grade your documents from Classroom. You can pretty much push anything out to students that you want them to have. You don't have to type in individual email lists to try to send things to them.
Yes.
It's wonderful. So we do a lot of that. I love just teaching them new things with Google because I think it's things that they're going to use later on.
Sure.
Documents can be used for a whole lot more than just typing up a paper. I teach kids how to create hyperdocs to where they can have links and images and videos. Same thing with slides. I use Google Draw a lot for them to create like interactive maps.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love it. I recently started using Google Sites.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still a little bit clueless with that, but it's just a matter of getting in there and working with it, learning new things and telling the kids, "Hey, get in there and play. If you find something new, let me know and we can share it with the class." And they really love doing that.
Yeah, well, and I think it's fantastic that you are open to that you're open to saying, "Oh, look, I don't know all this stuff." And I mean, you're just starting Google Sites. So, in a way, look, I don't know any of this stuff. You guys get in there and mess with that. And if you find something cool, share it with me.
Well, you should see their little faces when they get to share. Their ego just boosts up. And it's amazing to watch them grow that way.
That is
and
awesome.
they become open to sharing their ideas with people whenever you give them a little pat on the back for doing so.
Well, and what's really cool about that is that also helps with their sharing and public speaking. They don't necessarily see it that way. They're just sharing. But then when they're asked to present in front of the class, really you're just sharing what you've learned. Just your audience may be a little bigger than just the teacher and a couple of students.
That's true. Absolutely.
I want to know, why did you sign up for this particular workshop?
Well, I try to sign up for all the technology workshops that I can because I love learning new things.
Yep.
And I think if you can integrate technology in the classroom, it's just better. Kids love it. If we had enough Chromebooks, I would exclusively do computer programs and lessons every day.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't have enough, so I have to share with other people. Just kind of have to deal with it. But I'm a computer hog, so I'll sign up for them before everybody else does. But anyway, as far as podcasting goes, my first thought was at least trying to record maybe tests and different things like that we could have, for those students that need like oral testing.
Yeah.
They could just pop on some headphones
Absolutely.
and click on a link and they can have the test read to them at their own pace. Instead of having to pull them aside to a group and doing that myself, I could walk around more and monitor more. It wouldn't tie me up. But then I got to thinking that maybe, they can do this instead of doing a PowerPoint slide. Why not do a podcast on a research project?
Yes.
Anything different, anything that they can try in a different way. I really enjoyed looking at how they can add the music to it because kids love music.
Yes, they do.
And they become owners when they create. And if they can own something they create, they can become proud of that. They want to share it with other people. It improves the relationships that you have with parents if kids are enjoying your classroom.
Yeah.
So hopefully podcasting will help a lot.
How can folks reach out to you if they want to learn from what you have learned? What's the way they can get in touch with you?
One way that they can get in touch with me is through our website, through Lafayette County Schools. It's lcscougars.org. I'm listed there under the teachers. Just click on my name and you will find my website. I've posted all links that you'll need for the classroom there. So feel free to contact me anytime. You can also contact me through email that's also posted on our website.
Awesome. Well, Christy, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.